Hello to everybody. Hello to all humans and artificial intelligences listening to us right now. Today, we are going to talk about B2B e-commerce and especially about supplier chains and procurement systems projects. We're gonna review some areas of risk and ways to minimize them with the help of quality assurance processes and security testing. Today with you, your speakers, it's me, Natalia Vedmid. I'm CTO at QA Madness company. And our second speaker is Vitaliy Yakushev. He is CEO at 10 Guards company, and I believe one of the best specialists to talk about cybersecurity. So Vitaliy, maybe you can tell us why have you chosen cybersecurity as your sphere and what fascinates you the most?
To explain why I chose cybersecurity, it was a long time ago. I've read a lot of books about cyberpunk. I've seen a lot of different movies about hackers, about technical guys, and I have a good skills in mathematics, in some technical disciplines. So I decided to choose a technical division in my life, and in 1999 I faced with some magazine which called Hacker, and when I read this magazine I was so surprised, and it was so non-understandable for me but so interesting, and I decided to be a hacker. But unfortunately I wasn't, and I didn't become a hacker, and I became a manager. And 11 years ago my friends and I launched first cybersecurity company in Ukraine, and my hobby, it was my hobby. I read a lot about cybersecurity, cyber risk, and not only non-fiction literature, but but useful information about this direction, and decided to make it my business and my life. So for today, it's all my time and belong to cybersecurity. Thank you for your question.
Thank you too. Okay, so I'm going to remind all of you guys that at the end of our meeting, we are having Q&A sessions. So don't forget to write down your questions in our chat and we will review them later. And now let's get started. So at first, let's figure out why we are talking exactly about B2B e-commerce. One moment. I have some difficulties with my slides. Excuse me. Okay, everything's fixed. As usual, you've checked everything before the meeting, but at the meeting, something goes down. Okay, so why we are talking exactly about B2B e-commerce today? The point is, of course, about money, because when we're talking about B2C e-commerce, the quantity of websites is significantly bigger than B2B projects. But when it comes to money, to revenue and market capacity, of course, B2B sphere wins here. And let's take a look at some statistics. Let's review these graphics. In 2022, Statista research said that B2C projects got $0.8 trillion revenue, when at the same time B2B projects got $1.8 trillion of the revenue. and it prognosed that B2B sphere is going to have $3.1 trillion revenue till 2027. So in B2B projects, you have to deal with huge budget at stake. The risks are significantly higher. The reputation depends on the quality of your product, because even losing one client can lead to business aggravation and failure. Of course, you have to deal with high competition between B2B platforms. But all of that is nothing new, you may say, and B2B sphere exists for a long time already. So why we're talking about it right now? The main reason why now is pandemic. Since pandemic started, a lot of companies, a lot of services, they got a need to go digital, and B2B sphere is not an exception. So for now, about 80% of B2B buyers choose remote interaction and digital services. But all this urgent need to go digital, it led to urgent building of these B2B platforms. And let's be honest here, when you need to build something ASAP, one of the first things you have to sacrifice is quality. So unfortunately, for now, we have a situation that 52% of companies experience frustration with online B2B buying. And moreover, terrifying amount, 70% of buyers are willing to switch to another platform if some experiences and features aren't present in yours. So how to deal with all of that? Let's at first take a look at the structure of B2B platforms, its general structure, but it will help us to understand some of areas of risks better. The heart of your system is core platform. Core platform is a place where you develop and build all your features. It can be completely custom, written from scratch by your team, or it can be based on some existing CMS platform, for example, and customized later. The second part of this project is supplier platform. Supplier platform can also be a third-party platform that integrates with your system, or it can be the part of your platform developed by you. And then we have a face of our project. It's buyer's platform, front ends. And here you can see there is multiple of them, and we are going to talk about this a bit later. And of course, you can have some additional integrations that either your buyers or suppliers use, and your system might have to deal with them as well. So let's move to the point right now, and let's think about how we can build successful QA strategy. To create successful QA strategy and QA processes for any project, you need to ask yourself a question. What is this project for, and what will be the main needs of the client? For buyers in B2B, they expect to get a simple and seamless experience as in B2C, but the main points are completely different from B2C experience. So now we are going to review some of them. The first area of risk is a complex platform structure. B2B projects at least 2 times bigger in platform size in comparison with B2C. What it means more custom development, more complex features, and so on. And even if your project is built on some CMS, you need to get a lot of work done before you can use it properly. For example, we had a project, B2B supplier chain, that was built on Magento. But even if you know Magento out of the box pretty well, when you take a look at that project, you will see that it's completely different. The functionality is different, it's new. And I'd say about 80% of all the platform were customized or new features were added. So in these systems, if you miss QA process from the earliest stages of development, It can lead to missing some critical issues, critical bugs, and later on it will cost you a lot of money, a lot of time, or sometimes it can even be impossible to fix some issues without rewriting half of the platform. So you will need to come up with some workarounds about that. So if you are building B2B platform, you have to start looking for QA team as early as possible. And you will need to find a team with relevant experience, with understanding of B2B processes, which is not easy. And after that, onboarding process is going to take more time than for B2C projects. So you want to plan that as soon as possible. The next area of risk is a tailor-made approach. Nowadays, all the clients, especially business clients, they want personalized and unique experience, because every business has their own needs, their own settings they want to see, their own features they need to use, and so on. What does it mean for the structure of your platform? As we talked about it earlier, we have several buyer platforms. And to be precise, you need to have several front end for every buyer you have. Why is that? Because having a separate platform, your buyers will be able to choose which features they want to enable or disable, which settings they are going to apply to their own platform, and which features they want to have customized for them specifically. What is the risk here? As we already mentioned, about 70% of customers are willing to switch to another platform if some features they need, they don't work properly, or they don't exist on your platform at all. But what are those features they need and crave so much, so they are ready to switch to another platforms? Some of them are contract and flexible pricing, detailed product catalog with reviews, 3D models, and so on, a variety of payment and shipping options, adaptive search by SKU, industry terms, specific IDs, and anything else. And of course, they need different customer types and extensive permission settings. So what is the best QA approach to handle all of that? At first, based on the structure of our platform, the best approach is to have several QA teams. The first QA team is core QA team. They work on the core platform of your system. They test all new features, how they work individually and combined. They make sure that all these features are stable and ready to be moved to buyer platforms. And then you have a team for buyer platform. It can be either a separate QA team or QA representative for every buyer who will work in combination with customer support and who will be helping to set the system up, to cover the issues from the client side, to review the change request from them, and so on. And this structure of QA team, it leads to multiple stages of QA approach. At first, your core team starts with requirements testing. This process starts even before the development. So when the requirements are ready, when they're approved by stakeholders, your core QA team can analyze them. They can find what's missing, what's incomplete, or what potential difficulties can appear. What potential conflicts can happen with existing features, or if some points contradict each other, and so on. It allows us to minimize the quantity of issues that will appear during development. Then after development is done, your core team is going to perform features testing on core platform, report all the bugs, and make sure that all the bug fixes are done, everything works properly, and the feature is stable and ready to be moved to buyer platform. After that, your QA team for buyers starts working, and they help to set up the feature and test it in combination with all the other features this particular buyer has and all the settings they have if there is no conflicts for this specific buyer. The next area of risk I'm going to talk about is dependencies between the parts of the project. Having this complicated, complex project leads to having a lot of connections in code between the parts of your project, and therefore there are a lot of ways to break the system. And the later you notice this conflict, the more money and time you will spend to fix it. So how to make sure everything works properly? The solution is extensive regression tests. The best way if they are manual and automated tests combined. Because in this regression testing, you need not only test the features, how they work all together in the system, you'll need to verify all the core functionality of your system, all the new features, and the most important is all the related features to all the changes you've made. But sometimes it can be unpredictable, the influence of these features. So if you don't perform this regression test, there is no way you may notice it. I have a funny story about that. I say funny, but it's funny now. It wasn't funny back then when we found it. But it was a project when we implemented calculation of business days needed for delivery to be made for some particular shipping method. We implemented the feature, we tested it, everything was great, working properly, everything's okay. But before the release, we performed regression testing, and we noticed that when we proceed from shopping cart to checkout, the price of the products get duplicated. Huge mistake, critical issue, and we spent a lot of time to understand what was the reason of this issue. And it appears that this feature for days delivery calculation was the reason, because somehow parts of the code conflicted, contradicted each other, and even developer couldn't predict that this can be the reason. So everybody was surprised, but relieved that we found that because of regression testing. Okay, the next area of risk is integrations with third-party platforms like ERPs or CRMs, for example. If you have any integration in your project, it's going to be a bottleneck of the system for sure. Let's imagine that you have integration with your supplier CRM. When all the product information like prices, inventory are imported to your system from this third-party system, and all the orders, invoices, and so on are exported from your system to this CRM. In this case, even a few minutes of delay of this import process can cause severe issues. For example, your buyers can order products with irrelevant prices, or products that are in stock in your platform, but they've gone out of stock on their supplier CRM already. And it can be a pretty uncomfortable situation, and it will lead to the loss of orders, loss of money, or even loss of clients. So how are we going to handle integration testing by our QA team? The first step for integration testing is to make sure that everything is set up properly, that the mapping between two systems is correct and no data loss happens. Another funny situation about this case, we were testing a system where prices of the products were imported from third-party CRM system, and they had a regular price for the product, and they had a discounted price. But when setting up this mapping, somebody mixed up these two fields. So regular price went as discounted in our system and discounted as regular. So you can imagine when you open the front end and you look for the prices, you see that discounted price is even bigger than regular price. It was not funny situation, but we found that before releasing it, before going live with the feature, so everything was fixed. And it's like really easy mistake to make. You just mix up two fields, you didn't notice that, and that's it. And it's also easy stuff to fix. It takes 5 minutes to reassign two fields, but the consequences of this mistake can be really severe. And the second step in testing integrations is monitoring the constant integration process. So, okay, you make sure at the first step that all the data is correct, moving from system to system, but then you have to take care of the time when these import-export processes are going on. For example, let's say you have your prices moving on from third-party system to yours, and you check for these prices every hour. But let's say supplier changed prices at the beginning of this hour, and your products on your platform, they had irrelevant prices, outdated prices for almost an hour. Your buyers could have placed hundreds of orders during that time, and all of them will be with irrelevant prices, and you will have to deal with that. So you need to make sure that you have specific events that trigger this import-export process, or specific cron jobs, and then the timing is correct for them. One moment. And talking about this integration process, it's not one-time testing that you can check once and forget about it. You need to constantly monitor these changes, if something influenced it, and so on. So at least it should be included in every regression testing, and even better if it's automated. Okay, the next area of risk is mobile version for your platform. Remember that 70% that are ready to switch to another platform, to your competitor, if you don't have some features. One of that features that craves so much, it's mobile versions of the platform. 65% of buyers, they're ready to transfer to your competitors if they're not able to place an order easily from their mobile phone. So, of course, it's needed to test your platform on the range of mobile devices, and tablet devices also needed, because usage of tablets in business gradually grows every day. But the question is how to choose these devices to test on. If your project is already live, it's easy. You can go to your analytical tools. You can check what are the most popular devices your clients are using, and you can choose, let's say, top 4 of them, depending on the percentage of usage, and you can start testing with them. If you're not live yet, there are statistical data for the region you work in, for the country you work in, and you can choose from there. Okay, and last but not least of my points is sustainability. Pretty popular word nowadays. Everybody says, everybody hears it, everybody wants to be sustainable. And more companies, they want to improve their processes, they want to decrease the environmental pollution, and they try to become sustainable companies. And more consumers also like to choose the environmentally responsible companies to buy from. So 60% of consumers, they will choose a company who are environmentally responsible to other companies. What does it mean in B2B sphere? There are features that help you to analyze and predict buyers' needs. Let's say how many products buyer will want to order or need to order for the next month. based on their previous orders, based on the region they are in, based on the time of the year, the weather, and so on and so on, a lot of factors. But if this system, it's of course based on AI and machine learning, at first it needs time to learn to work properly. And if this system of yours doesn't work properly, doesn't predict properly, it can bring more harm than benefit for your clients. So of course it requires thorough testing. It requires work with data analysts to make sure that initial data pool you used to learn your AI for that is relevant to the region, relevant to the countries, to the spheres your buyers work on, and so on. And then you want your QA team to thoroughly test a lot of different scenarios. It also will help for your AI to learn new things and develop. Okay, that's it from my side. That's not, of course, are not all the points there is, because B2B sphere is constantly growing and developing and changing. Even sustainability point we've just talked about, we wouldn't be talking about it a few years ago. So everything's changing, and if you have any other interesting points, you can write them down in the chat and we'll discuss them. And of course, if you have any questions, write them down in the chat as well. And now we are ready to move to the second part of our webinar about cybersecurity testing for B2B projects. And Vitaliy, you're welcome to proceed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. It was so useful. I even have a question and I will ask you after my presentation. Yeah, just be prepared. Okay, let me share my screen and we can move on. Do you see my presentation, my first slide? Yeah, good. It's the first step and it's successful. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, everyone. And my name is Vitaliy Yakushev. I'm CEO of 10Guards. 10Guards is a cybersecurity company that provides vendor-agnostic cybersecurity services in the world. We started from Ukraine. Perhaps you know about this country. We have the war right now, but we continue to work to perform our services not only in Ukraine. And for now, we have more than 8 or 9 countries in our portfolio, so we know many different markets. So today I'll share my experience and experience of my colleagues from cybersecurity perspective. But I would like to start from a small poll just to check if you are not sleeping right now. And please type plus in the chat if you are a technical person, and type exclamation mark if you are not technical person, if you are non-technical manager or specialist or something like that. So I want to understand what audience is here right now. Plus, 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 plus. Oh, Victor and Nata and Alena and Irina, non-technical. Alexander, non-technical. Okay. Technical people were quicker, and our non-technical people. Okay, typing. Yeah, good. Almost 1-to-1. Even non-technical people, large number here. Okay, it's good. It's good when we have audience that divides 2 types: technical, non-technical. We at 10Guards, and I personally always speaking with understandable language. We are not speaking about some vulnerabilities or technical, some jargon. We're speaking understandable for everyone, in language understandable for everyone. And today I'll try to talk about cybersecurity, this understandable non-technical language. And do not forget, okay, we have a hybrid person. It's like a technical background, but more management right now. Okay, Robert, good to hear. And the first information, the first point I want to discuss, it's like a statistics. I like this site from the internet, like you have lies, damned lies, and statistics. So always we use statistics to explain some numbers, some behavior, and some strategy and tactics for business. And one of biggest insurance company in the world, Allianz, each year they interviewed many non-technical top managers from many countries of the world with their one questions. Please rank business risks that you are expecting the next year, and what kind of risk you are expecting most impactful for your business. And several years in a row, cyber incidents or cyber threats place the first place in this rank. So non-technical people understand that cyber incidents in this digitalization world are the most evil threats in the world. So that's why non-technical managers should be involved in cyber risk management as well, because cyber risks are the main part of business risk. So if you are technical people, you need to involve your non-technical managers inside cyber risk management. If you are non-technical managers or non-technical people, you need to understand that if you delegate all cyber risks to technical people, you delegate a huge part of business risks to technical people. And if you are sure that technical people understand your business, understand business goals, that's okay. If you are not sure, so you need to deeply dive in this cyber risk. I'm not speaking about technical details. I'm speaking about cyber threats, cyber risk, understand how cyber risk impact your business process. And sometimes it's easily to understand, even not even sometimes, often it's easily to understand non-technical people about cyber risk. Okay, the next point is that cybersecurity is not only about technology. It's like a huge cargo cult that if you will purchase something like a silver bullet, some technologies, antiviruses, SIEMs, security operation centers, or another marketing names of protection technologies, software or hardware, we will protect ourselves from cyber threats. Unfortunately, it's not true. You need to implement all of these components. Technology, of course, yes, you need to implement technology. You need to build process, and you need to train your people. This is a golden triangle, and it's under placement for building cybersecurity inside your product or your company. It doesn't depend on what you want to protect. So, and if we are speaking about products like software and hardware, we need to remember that if you want to build a secure product, you need to implement all these triad: technology, process, and people. And if we consider secure product, so I'd like to show my interpretation of building secure product. It's not just a secure application. It's a first and one of part of cybersecurity of your product. The next one, it's a protection of your IT developers infrastructure if you develop your product by your own software developer team. The next part is the same situation if you are developer of your software tools, or if you improve these tools, you need to implement, you need to add additional steps to your software development lifecycle. And these steps will be interconnected with cybersecurity, with protection from cyber attacks. The fourth point is train your people. And the fifth point, you need to implement cybersecurity in all parts of your corporate culture. I will mention about all of these points a bit later. So about all these 5 points. So first point, secure your application. It doesn't matter what type of application you use or you develop. It could be web application, mobile application, even desktop application. You need to implement some part of testings for this ready-to-use application. And we divided this testing for 3 parts of testing. First part, vulnerability-based attacks. And in this case, you just need to check by own self, or you can call some experts, external teams like us, for example, external consultants and white-hat hackers who will test your application, but you need to request additional requirements for this testing. First one is vulnerability-based testing. So tester will need to try to find some vulnerabilities well known, for example, from OWASP top 10, or some technical vulnerabilities, well-known vulnerabilities, and what type of vulnerabilities or security weaknesses. I mentioned that I will not tell about vulnerabilities. That vulnerabilities are security weaknesses in your software, or in your network perimeter, or in external network perimeter, internal network perimeter. So you need to think about technical issues in configurations, in code, in a ready-to-use application. The next type of testing is the authenticated area, when testers should log in or sign in inside your application and check everything inside the application, including business log, including some types of privilege escalation, when some user can obtain access or rights or permissions, other users with other permissions, with other privileges. So it should be tested mandatory in this application security. And the last type of testing, anonymous attacks, when without signing in inside application, testers may try to find some logic or technical issues. For example, they can perform some repetitive actions, and these actions may lead to, for example, DDoS, or slow down the system, or it can be like a registration spam, when if you're not limited some requests to your application, and not good hackers, evil or black hat hackers, can spam your registration systems with multiple registrations, or with the email bombing, or with the SMS bombing, if you have some additional verification via SMS or additional messages to your clients or to users of your application. So If you secure your application, remember about 3 tiers of testing: vulnerability-based, authenticated testing, and anonymous testing. The next point is secure or protect infrastructure of your IT developers or software developers. You can hear about some types of cyber attacks like supply chain cyber attacks. Probably you heard about NotPetya cyber attacks. This attack was almost 6 years ago on Ukrainian infrastructure when some evil hackers breached our software developers that developed some software product for taxation, for sending like tax information to our state tax service. And they implement backdoor to the update of this product and spread this update to all the users of this software. So they penetrate not applications, that penetrated not like a front end or back end of this application. They penetrated infrastructure of software developers and implement this malicious code inside updates on the application infrastructure. So to test your developers infrastructure, you need to test to order or to perform audits, external and internal audits. It could be like a pen test, the technical audits, or it could be a process audit to check some process, for example, password policy or patch management policy and process and backup process. You need to understand that it's a different type of audits, technical audits like imitation of hacker cyber attack. It's like penetration test or technical audit, and process audit. It's about policies, about basement of cybersecurity, about laws of cybersecurity inside your company. And the next point, it's building SDLC, secure SDLC, software development lifecycle. So probably if you are developer of some software, you have like a standard software development lifecycle, but probably you've heard about some term like a security by design. So you need to build your product secured from the scratch, from the design. You need to make a threat modeling, and after that you need to test your code using static analyzers or even manual code review, and after security assessment and configuration of infrastructure of this application, including front end, back end, and manual and automatic scanning of ready to use application. And you need to reassess your risk about your application after all new features, after all new upgrades. And this should be a process, not only a one-time project when you did something and forget about it forever. This should be a process. About trained people. When we are speaking about human factor, some technicians say you need to train non-technical people. That's a mistake, because you need to train not only non-technical people. Yes, cyber hygiene and cyber awareness training is a must for non-technical people, but you need to upgrade skills of your technical guys, because sometimes improper configuration of your technologies like hardware, protection hardware or software can lead to security weaknesses, to vulnerabilities. And many our projects showed that technical guys sometimes open the entrance to black hat hackers to their infrastructure. So you need to remember about it. You need to remember about training non-technical people about cyber hygiene approaches, rules, and cyber awareness program. It should be process as well. You need to not forget about tests as well, because if you just train your people without testing, your people will forget about everything in a few weeks, maximum few weeks, sometimes in a few hours. And of course, you need to upgrade skills to your technical guys, and if they request some additional training, specific training, so you need to approve these trainings, and you will invest your money in this training to your cybersecurity, because a low qualification of your technical personnel will lead to security weaknesses. And of course, you need to build a cybersecurity culture inside your company. In this case, everybody will understand why they need to implement some cybersecurity rules, why they need, for example, choose a strong password, why they need to choose multi-factor authentication, etc., etc. Without this understanding, if you just request such rules without explaining, without any deep explaining, if your employees don't understand about cyber risk, they don't understand what the consequences are of these rules and what kind of impact or losses from cyber attacks in your company. So everything will be unsuccessful with your cybersecurity program. So you need to implement a cybersecurity approach strategy to all employees, to all people inside your company, and you need to understand that your environment, so your subcontractors, can impact your business or your product as well. You need to understand, because supply chain attack it's a one type of cyber attacks as well. Probably you heard about SolarWinds cyber attacks when black hackers breached one of biggest software developers and implement backdoors and malicious code inside updates, and they hacked a lot of US companies and European companies. And if I'm not mistaken, they encrypt the infrastructure and ransom some money to decrypt this information in infrastructure. So you need to implement these cybersecurity approaches to your culture, not only for technical people. It's not responsibility of technical people. It should be responsibility of non-technical managers, top managers, and of course non-technical employees. As I spoke before, you need to build process like password policy management, patch management, backups, multi-factor authentication, and training, cyber awareness trainings, but not only training, but program. It's a process. When you remind about cyber hygiene rules every day, using some promo materials, for example, in online or offline in your offices. And of course, risk management process will allow you to translate technical cyber risk to non-technical business risk, to calculate losses, to calculate investments in cybersecurity. And of course, if you're a software developer, you need to start from scratch when you design your application, and you need to implement cybersecurity approach. For example, OWASP has a wonderful framework for software developer. It's a OWASP ASVS, Application Security Verification Standard. This is a good set of rules for software developers, how to build a secure product for every programming language, for every technologies, including modern serverless technologies or legacy server technologies. It doesn't matter. This framework discovers everything about cybersecurity approach for your product. And of course, conclusion from my presentation, that only multi-site approach, only when you implement everything, not only technology, inside your organization, inside your product, and in this case, we will get cybersecurity in your company or cybersecure product. Without this approach, without this philosophy, there is no success. Your product could be hacked via people or via infrastructure, company of your developers infrastructure, or directly via application. So it's just surface information, because when I prepared presentation, I thought it will be 3 hours and I can tell everything about cybersecurity, or almost everything. But I got only 15 minutes or 20 minutes, so it's not enough to deeply dive inside this question, but I try to describe as much as possible about this topic, and just to remind you that cybersecurity is not only technology. There is no silver bullet in technology to protect your data, your infrastructure, your application, or your people, employees from the cyber threats. Unfortunately, there is no such technologies. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. I hope you find this presentation useful and helpful for you in the future. And we will read about your questions. Natalie, should we start from your question firstly?
Yeah, you mentioned you have a question for me, so go on.
Okay, please type your questions to Natalie about QA testing. And I see questions to me, but one question from Robert. I wanted to ask you, Natalie, about QA process. So sometimes our clients think that there is some magic automated tools that allow you to scan or to check your application or something infrastructure and close everything about cybersecurity threats like vulnerabilities, etc., etc. Probably you've heard, or probably in QA, some automatic tools exist that solve this problem. Probably you don't need manual verification, just press one button, and after that got the results, and probably this automatic tools will fix everything and everything will be okay.
Yeah, I got your question. And yes, there are a lot of such tools, especially I receive tons of letters every day where people suggest me to use their tool that is magical, that tests everything in a moment, and don't need QAs anymore. And I'd say such tools, they are menace to society, to IT society nowadays, because a lot of people believe them, a lot of non-technical people who are not related to QA, they believe they buy those tools, but the main point, all of them are useless and they don't work. Without knowing what to test, where to test, without having an experience, without getting to know a specific product you're working on, it's impossible to test it thoroughly and to make sure that everything works properly there.
Yeah, the same answer for cybersecurity tools. Many years, some snake oil sellers try to sell some magic tools with AI, blockchain, machine learning, and other marketing names of technologies, and offer these tools like a silver bullet that will allow you to check, to fix, and to monitor, to detect every cyber threat. But unfortunately for our customers and clients, and fortunately for us, manual work is still existing, and this work is like most efficient and most qualitative for now. Unfortunately, no such tools. Probably nowadays AI like ChatGPT will try to test everything, and but you know, I believe that these tools will teach some developers to code correctly, probably. I hope and believe, but I don't believe in these tools that they will test everything, including business logic, for example, or some specific technology and a stack of technologies.
Yeah, same for me. I believe the same ChatGPT, it can help with writing automated tests, for example, or refactoring them, but it won't be able to think through all the possible cases, possible ways to break this system. Only human brain for now can do that.
Yeah, and about the questions, Robert, thank you for mentioning the standards I mentioned before. Yeah, I really recommend to use OWASP methodologies, and I know Robert, and Robert is like ambassador of OWASP methodology and approaches, and I thank you. He introduced these technologies deeply, even for me personally. And OWASP has several technologies. OWASP top 10. It's a current. It's like a statistics. It's like numbers, just numbers. What's like a popular mistakes and vulnerabilities software developers making every day. OWASP has a web security testing guide. This is like a checklist for us, for security testers, how to test applications, web and mobile and even desktop applications. And ASVS, this is a standard for developers. It's a I'd like to call it like a translator from security language, security testing language to software developers language. So software developers understand what they should do to fix some vulnerabilities found during security testing, for example, or what should do to not add security weaknesses, vulnerabilities to their code. And of course, I need to mention OWASP cheat sheets. It's a very, very detailed explanation and description how to fix or how to implement some security features inside the product, or how to code your software securely. Did we have some interesting cases of breach in the systems? You know, many cases, but many of them under NDA, but you know, many critical issues we found in a very simple and non-interesting way. Just test some potential dangerous type of application. But the most interesting issues, they let me remind some of most interesting. Often this is a multi-step vulnerability when you use several types of vulnerability or several types of activities to get some critical information. For example, we found in some application that user can send a report to administrator, not directly through application, and this report user compile this report online in this web application, but after this report sending using XML technology. And we added to this XML XSS payload and tried to steal cookie of user who will open this XML inside some HTML form. So it was our question that probably this XML form sent into some special administrative panel, and administrator opens this form in web view. And if this web view doesn't have any sanitization of information inside this XML, so we will exploit this XSS inside this HTML form. And you know, it worked. Yes, and we stole administrator cookies using such type of activities. It's not a direct vulnerabilities. Whole application was secured. Yes, it had some vulnerabilities, some issues, but it wasn't XSS vulnerabilities, cross-site scripting. But we use some creative approach to get additional information, even without social engineering. I'm not speaking about social engineering. It's a separate part of cybersecurity attacks, and it's always a creative way to steal some credentials or to force people to run some exploits in email attachments, for example. But in this case, it was most interesting cases. But other cases, you can find it in some write-ups in the internet, because you know, in our testing, we use some standard approach with creative way to get some access or to get some sensitive information from application, from infrastructure. But you know, very often it's boring, because you need to do a routine every day, every minute, to get this vulnerabilities found.
And I have a question talking about infrastructure maintenance and especially password policy. What is the best way, in your opinion, to save and share passwords inside a company?
You know, there are a lot of password managers, the corporate or personal. For example, personally, I use KeePass. It's the most secured password manager, but a couple weeks ago, some investigators found issue. It's not a vulnerability, but issue inside this password manager. But it's not from the KeePass developers. It's not a bug, it's a feature. But if we are speaking about some corporate password managers, LastPass was breached 4 times. One password was breached as minimum 1 time. And you know, honestly, I don't know corporate password managers that weren't breached. So for personal purposes, I recommend KeePass. It's an open source, free password manager. For corporate usage, you need to probably a bit more than. Honestly, we are vendor agnostic company. We do not know everything about technology, about vendors, about their feature. So unfortunately, I can't recommend you with high level of qualification what kind of technology you need to use. So you need to contact some dealers, distributors, or vendor of such technologies.
It seems to me that if you proclaim some password manager, let's say, to be the most secure, it's gonna be the less secure soon because everybody will want to break it.
Yeah, the best password manager is your brains, but
yeah,
it has a short memory.
true.
Okay.
The most secure place because you also forgot this information and nobody knows it right now.
Yeah, the best password from when you forgot about it. Much lot of attacks with backdoor before, I guess, especially custom backdoors programmed and pretty hard to find because you don't have a CV or something which you search for it. Was the best way to identify them? Well, good question about how to find near 0 days attacks when doesn't have digital footprint in antiviruses or protection software bases. So monitor your infrastructure. As I mentioned before, some companies are building center, team, security, incident, and event management, and the infrastructure. So about some strange behavior of those infrastructure. When, so for example, some process inside your server or personal computer opens connection to unknown IP addresses or unknown IP addresses and network ports. So if you monitor everything, including network flow, so you can detect such strange behavior of your software or hardware, and it would be like a alarm to try to research this suspicious behavior. So in this case, only monitoring your infrastructure using honeypots or deception tools, for example. As I know, deception tools for now, it's the best way to monitor your infrastructure when you have a lot of deception tools inside your infrastructure. And when black hackers try to later move inside your infrastructure, these evil guys will get inside your traps. So it's like one of types. You know, if you probably some technology vendor recommend you to use their special, very sophisticated scanners with behavior analysis, with how it's called, I forgot. Heuristic scanning, etc., etc. But you know, black hackers know about such approach of antiviruses and EDRs or other protection software, and they use a lot of specific ways to hide their backdoors or malicious code inside legitimate software process, etc. So you need to monitor your behavior of your software, hardware inside infrastructure, and if in case of some suspicious activities, you need to research it manually with high-skilled specialists. Okay. About ChatGPT, I told before. For now, honestly, I don't see like a huge leverage of this ChatGPT software or AI tool to cybersecurity defense, only for offensive some activities. For example, ChatGPT can help to black hackers, for example, preparing phishing emails or messages. It allows to scale phishing activities. I saw that one specialist wrote that he can try to develop exploit for using ChatGPT, but honestly, I don't think that it was like a very easy exercise for him. Yeah, thank you, Robert, for your question. And yes, your clarification about make SIEM or SOC, Security Operations Center. It's like the next step after SIEM, and monitor your infrastructure. You know, now cybersecurity moved from defense to detect. You need to detect cyber attack as earlier as possible, and to react quickly to the cyber attack and restore after cyber attack as quickly as possible. So yeah, you need to monitor behavior, you need to monitor your infrastructure and to detect suspicious behavior and activities inside and outside your infrastructure. What I'm thinking about cyber insurance, you know, it's a very interesting topic. We can speak about it for hours because we have a lot of examples when it works, and several examples, publicly known examples, when it doesn't work. For example, after NotPetya cyber attack, some companies that had or has a branch in Ukraine, this how it's called, it's a company that produces Oreo cookies, Mendeley, something like Mendeley, if I'm not mistaken. So not Mendeley, but something like that, Mendeley's. So this company was breached using this NotPetya malware. It wasn't a ransomware, it was wiper. Those malware didn't encrypt and decrypt information, but just encrypt it one way without possibility to decrypt. So it's called wiper because it's delete Mondelez. Yeah, Mondelez. Thank you, Anastasia. And they go to the insurance company, Zurich Insurance, and this insurance company declined the request to pay insurance payments because they said it was a cyber war, and it's like exclusion from a contract, so like force majeure, and they declined to pay, and Mondelez went to court. And honestly, I don't know the result of these legal activities. Probably they paid these insurance payments, but it took several years to prove that it was a case, insurance case, which requires insurance payments. So in this case, you need to read your cyber insurance contract very care and to understand what kind of risk are covered by this contract and what exclusions, what force majeure points in this contract. Because yeah, I even read an article about the cyber insurance in the world, and some experts see that this insurance are not reliable for now. And what cybersecurity specialists are needing nowadays? Even legacy technologies need cybersecurity specialists. So there is no specific requirements for now. A skilled specialist should know a variety of technologies. Yeah, for now, many public clouds, infrastructure, and virtualization techniques like virtualization for servers, virtualization for process like Dockers, Kubernetes, and cybersecurity specialist should know everything about virtualization, about legacy approaches like hardware, servers, and of course, cybersecurity has a lot of specialization. If we are speaking about offensive practice, white hat hackers, it divides on several parts like web, mobile, or other application security, network infrastructure pen tests, wireless pen test, reverse engineering, and internal penetration testing. But there are also cybersecurity system administrator, cybersecurity implementer, cybersecurity software developer, cybersecurity integrators, and if you're speaking about defensive, many specialization inside defensive, or someone called it blue team, offensive red team, and defensive blue team, who protects technologies or infrastructures. So there are a lot of specialization, and you need to know a lot of information, variety of information to be high skilled. Unfortunately, for cybersecurity specialists, because it's a high requirements to step in cybersecurity than other IT specializations. Because of a variety of technology, cybersecurity specialists should know. Okay, I guess I answered everything about questions.
Yeah, I believe that's all the questions we had.
Yeah, thank you for your questions. Probably if you have questions and you are lazy to type it, you can switch on your microphone and ask us with your voice. I see a lot of familiar names. Hello, everyone. Hello, friends, colleagues. Jan, you had a question I didn't answer.
Oh, Vitaliy, can I ask a question?
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah. So with all the cyber attack for the last 2 years, what do you foresee for 2023? Yeah. Sorry, I missed part of the presentation. Will you guys send me the recording later?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, guys.
We recorded this session, and I hope we share this session with all of you. you know, it's a very unpredictable way to foresee cyber attacks this year, in this month, or even week. You know, the most efficient cyber attacks are ransomware, because a lot of money, because even for now, I read that these attacks decreased to 40% in comparison with previous years. But I believe that unfortunately, these attacks will be popular in this year because a lot of tools, because a lot of ransomware as a services offerings, and as the first type of cyber attacks will be popular this year as minimum. And this year we will see a lot of hacktivist cyber attacks because of real war in Ukraine, and all our partners, Ukrainian partners, will suffer from cyber attacks from not only state-backed hackers, but from hacktivists as well. So if several years ago only successful and large companies were like potential victims, but for today, any companies in the world, especially Ukrainian partners, will be under cyber attacks. So these hacktivists try to find low-hanging fruits and hack as much as possible companies and destroy information and steal this information and share this information publicly to impact everyone, to their goal that you are afraid of Russian hackers and stop support of Ukraine. So this is my forecast for cyber attacks.
Wow, thank you for sharing. I appreciate your opinion.
You're welcome. Thank you. Well, I think Robert, after more technical security, I found it much harder to. Yeah. What tips how to get people aware for the cybersecurity? It's a extremely complicated question. You need to build a corporate culture, cybersecurity, from any employee to all top managers should understand the importance of cybersecurity. And you need to speak understandable language. You need to show what potential impact after cyber attacks for everyone, for top managers, impact on financial losses, for example. For employees, it's probably reputational or as well as financial losses, because if companies failed, so everyone in company will fail with the company. So everyone should understand that level of cyber defense of any company depends on weakest link in this cyber defense. So if you like a responsible person for cybersecurity in company, you know everything about cybersecurity, you know everything about cyber defense, and you build a lot of technologies process inside your company, but people don't understand about it, but people don't aware, but people weren't trained and tested about cybersecurity approaches, your company will be breached in the nearest future. So you need to remember this about this golden triangle: technology, process, and people, and translate and to spread this information to all people with understandable language. As cybersecurity specialists, sometimes we should forget about specific jargon, about some slang and technical words. We need to speak with non-technical, understandable language, with understandable laws for everyone inside company. Only corporate culture. Unfortunately, there is no other ways to build strong cybersecurity inside company without this mindset, as you mentioned, and this mindset should be building with this process of awareness. It's a process. You need to remind about rules, about results, about goals, etc., etc. Yeah, even not to your mother, but grandmother. Yes. Okay. So Robert, thank you for your questions, for your high activity here. I appreciate it. And yeah, thank you to you all for your time. You're very welcome. Probably some additional questions? No, thank you. So I appreciate you, Natalie, for your presentation, because we know that QA without security and security without QA don't exist, because sometimes as a security testers, we need to do some QA activities, and it's not right way, because we are not a specialist in QA testing. So we are partners, and we like ambassadors of each other. So we decided to perform such activities, such event, to share our knowledge, our experience to you, and I hope it was useful for you and helpful, and you will use it in your daily routine or in your strategy, such approaches.
Yes, thank you, Vitaliy, as well. I agree with you. Sometimes some companies come to us and just ask us, can you perform just a little bit of security while you are testing our product? And just something, a little bit, we don't know what. We just want to make sure. And we tell them that it's not possible like that. You need a specialist in this sphere. So this like basic checks that won't do anything. It's the same as using like magical tool.
Yeah, silver bullet is a like a most expensive non-existent tool.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you guys for your attention. We were glad to share our experience with you, and we hope to see you again in our next event.
Yeah, have a great day, evening, or morning, and see you later. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.